Good evening, everyone. It's already been a great one, so let's call to order this meeting of the Averill Park School Board. If everybody could rise for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Thank you for everyone in attendance tonight. Superintendent's report. As you know from the previous reception, Dennis has announced his retirement. Just want to make sure the board and community is aware that we have begun the process to hire his successor. We're trying to get out early on this one, as has been our way. As of this moment, we are actually fully hired for next year on the faculty side. So we're kind of following that same model with the admin piece, trying to get out early. The position has been posted, and we're looking to do that in an effort to attract the most qualified applicant pool as possible, even though the retirement is kind of mid-year. Speaking of hiring, just wanted to kind of outline where we are in that process. As I referred to earlier, we are now up to 13 filled spots in some very hard to fill areas. Again, we very deliberately wanted to get out early on these and get our postings up, our process going. Thanks to Kim for leading the charge on that. We are definitely on the cutting edge, and thanks to our faculty, who has been a very active participant in the process, as well as our admin folks at each level. So we are in a good spot there. Hopefully there'll be no surprises between now and September 1st. You may have saw in the newspaper some very big news for us. The town of Post Kill has signed an agreement with Sand Lake Ambulance. This is an extremely big development for us, as it directly affects both Post Kill Elementary School and Algonquin. We have a good relationship with Sand Lake Ambulance, and we've already set up a meeting with them at the end of August to discuss response protocols and building access. Kate, who's here, leading the safety part for that. So we are very excited about this development. Obviously good for our residents and certainly good for our schools. And we thank Sand Lake Ambulance for reaching out even before we did to set up that meeting in August. Board is aware of our fleet electrification study. We have the final draft report. Once we get the actual final report, we are going to ask the consultant, which is Cornice, to present their analysis to the board in public session. We're gathering that information. As you know, we discussed it a lot during the budget development cycle about whether or not to put a proposition up to the public, held off on doing it until the study was done. So once we get that, we plan to fully vet it out and have them come in and present to the board and to the community so they can make a decision there. And then last but not least, you may have heard that the U.S. Department of Education has ruled that the ban on Native American themed school mascots violates federal civil rights law. The state, after that, responded by offering to ban all mascots connected to any racial or ethnic group. Probably the most local would be the Dutchman, if you think of Guilderland, for example. We are going to continue to monitor this developing situation. The guidance we've received from our attorney is certainly this process is a long way from being over, as this has to play out. For us, the deadline is still June 30th. So we are still going as scheduled with the changeover. That is the report. And then we'll move to our celebrations of success video. Thanks to Brian Radowitz for doing that video, which will hopefully be his last one. In a separate announcement, we did hire a communications person today. So that person is supposed to start with us next week, and hopefully that person will start doing the videos for us. Last thing on the superintendent's report, I want to recognize Samantha. She's now achieved level 3 board mastery through NISBA's Board of Excellence recognition program. Ironically, one of the things you get is a certificate for one free one-day event of training. So your reward is they're willing to give you more training and a certificate and a pad folio. So congratulations, Sam.
Oh, thanks.
That's from the district.
Oh, that's right.
All right, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Okay. Next item is tenure. I need a motion to approve administrative tenure for one Carrie Gershon. That looks like Justine first. And then Megan McGarry second. What's that? Carrie, yeah, I just have nobody in the room. I mean, I've tried to. JD and M. So we have a motion on the table to approve tenure for Carrie Gershon. Any discussion?
So I am a proud West Sand Lake mom. All 3 of my children came through West Sand Lake, and I think probably my only sadness is that I don't think any of them really got to spend a lot of time with Carrie Rozier. She is a gift and a pleasure to have as a member of the district, and we are both blessed and grateful to have her. So I'm very excited to be able to support this tonight.
So I ripped my microphone out. Now I hope that I don't get emotional. I first met Carrie when we were considering putting our kids in the district kind of at a crazy time shortly after she had started. And she told me no, and I liked her immediately. And ever since then, I've had 3 years with Carrie, 3 kids at West Sand Lake, and it has been an incredible experience. She is so kind and so welcoming to all of the kids who come from all different backgrounds and have, they can start their morning off terribly and she's outside to greet them. So we are very lucky to have her, and I am so excited to be able to vote on this tonight.
top that.
It's like one of our favorite votes to take, so, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving said administrative tenure, Mr. Brochure, that passes unanimously. Yay. Now we need a motion to approve instructional tenure for the following teachers. Carrie Villalba, Nicole Kondo, Carly and I apologize, I practiced not well enough. Desiderio, Brittany DeRazio, Scott Galinsky, Samantha Grace, Josh Kim, Nicole Monroe, Wilfredo Reyes, and Catherine Wood. Oh, well, that was simultaneously. Did you catch it, Lynn, first?
Yeah, it was really close.
I don't know, we'll call it Megan and Adam in that order. Any discussion on this one? Meg, go ahead.
As a longtime parent in the district at this point, with a graduate, someone in midst of their high school journey, and then my youngest going up to high school next year, I have had a lot of interaction with all of the wonderful teachers and admins and everybody. Some folks in particular that have made an amazing impact on us, but one in particular that I'd like to recognize, Carly Desiderio, who works very closely with my special ed kid. And I can't tell you how much we are very lucky to have people like Carly and all of our other honorees here. And again, really grateful and blessed for their service. And specifically to Carly, thank you to everything that you do for my family, because it means so much to me. But also to all of our other tenure recipients, so grateful for you guys. You make an impact more than you realize, so thank you.
I too have had direct experience with only 2 of the many that we're voting today. This is definitely one of my favorite things to vote on, because I don't think there's anybody that I've encountered in our district that doubts that part of what makes AP great is the staff that we have. So thank you for all your work, and we're really excited to support you.
Like Lauren, I haven't had direct experience with most of the people on this list yet. I look forward to working with all of you. But mainly, I just wanted to echo the sentiments. Thank you. We appreciate that you're here. We appreciate everything that you do for the kids, and congratulations.
Okay. Well said. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the slate of tenure, instructional tenure, that is again unanimous. Yay. We are gonna go put this meeting into recess so we can celebrate you guys a little bit more. Handshakes, high fives, and cupcakes out in the hall, correct? Cafeteria, oh. Right, so stretch legs, go get cupcakes. All right, welcome back. Hope everybody got some sugar. We're gonna go over to our curriculum renewal presentation, starting with music.
Thank you very much for having us tonight. This is the second year. We had a kickoff last year for the music renewal team. And this is our year to present to the board of what the team worked on. So Matt always asks the administrators who wants to help work with the team, but I immediately said, please, please, please pick me. So I knew my background in music, I understood what they're talking about and spoke like they do. So it was it's been a great team to work with this year. So I just want to do quick introductions. Our team is our middle school band director, Lauren Drzezinski, and also the teacher leader for music. We have Betsy Baker, who's representing our elementary level, Sabrina Manna, who's representing our middle school choral, and then our newest teacher in the district, high school choral teacher, Leslie Elishuk. So they will be presenting music renewal.
So we started with brainstorming and we took a look at what our department looks like currently. And we took data from other districts to help us restructure kind of what we want our department to look like. One thing that you should keep in mind is our department is a little more complex than other subject areas. We have kind of 4 smaller subcategories. We have band, orchestra, chorus, and general music. So just keep in mind throughout the presentation that we're going to be talking about the needs of those different areas and how we're going to make a concise structure.
So currently, our music department is split up a little bit differently. So at the elementary level, we have 3 full-time positions, 1 at each building. Each person at that building teaches 6 or 7 sections of K through 5 general music. That person is also teaching 5th grade band, 5th grade orchestra, and 5th grade chorus. And that person is also doing the instrumental lessons for band and orchestra. So each full-time position is essentially the same, and that person stays at each building the whole time.
So at the middle school, we have 3 FTE. We have band and band lessons, orchestra and orchestra lessons, and chorus and general music. So that is a typical pairing for music categories. So you have choral and general music generally do go together like other districts. And then we also have separate band and orchestra teachers in the middle school.
And then at the high school level, we do have 2 full-time teachers. We have an instrumental teacher who handles orchestra, band, jazz band, as well as instrumental lessons for each of those instruments and ensembles. And then we have a choral position who handles concert choir, treble choir, and vocal lessons. And we will actually be offering to a special education music class next year as well, which will go in the choral standpoint as well. And these are about comparable to most districts. I will say that we're a little under what most districts of our size offer. Usually most districts offer 3 full-time teachers for level 1 per subject area.
Okay, so going back to our original question, what do we want our department to look like? We kind of came up with 4 big bullet points. We want all students across our 5 buildings to get the same music education aligned with our K-12 curriculum standards. We would like student enrollment to be maintained both within the building, but also transitioning to buildings, especially 5 to 6 and 8 to 9. We want our buildings, ensembles, and age levels to collaborate with unique experiences musically. And we want our teaching roles to be aligned with individual strengths to maximize our instructional impact. So having a strength in band, orchestra, or a choral background. So when we looked into this, we said, how can we really change it from the fundamentals, from elementary? And the only way we could kind of restructure things within our department was adding a full-time employee and changing all 3 elementary schools. So we really worked hard on how we would do that if we were able to get a full-time employee. But then we also realized that that may not be the case. So how can we take our current people and rework things, which leads us to how we're going to change elementary for next year.
So next year, we'll still have 3 full-time teachers at the elementary level, but again, we're going to play a little bit more into our strengths to ensure our students just get the absolute best teacher that they can at their building. So the first position will be a general music and chorus position. We found that a lot of other districts comparable to Averill Park would have someone who is specializing in general music or chorus or in the instrumental side. And rather than staying at one building the whole time, they would travel to different buildings, so teaching the same content. So we have one teacher doing general music and chorus, so they would again do 6 sections of K through 5 general music at Miller Hill. They would travel to Poston Hill, do the 6 sections of K through 5 general music there. They would also do 5th grade chorus at both of those buildings. The other teacher, sort of their counterpart, would be instrumental music at both of those buildings. So that person would be 5th grade band and orchestra at Miller Hill and Poston Hill. They would also be in charge of all the instrumental lessons at Miller Hill and Poston Hill. The third position is staying the same at West Sand Lake. That person is still doing all of the sections of general music, band, orchestra, and chorus. We found, again, just with the structure of our department and not adding staff, this was the best kind of compromise that we could create. And we're hoping in the future we can make this position more equitable to the change in the positions that we have for next year.
So one thing we concentrate on curriculum alignment for the choral and band. We do have a retirement in the orchestra area. We also focus on the transitions between 5th and 6th grade, as well as 8th and 9th. So what do we want the students to know coming up from elementary to middle school and then going to the high school level in the ensembles?
And just to piggyback off of that idea in terms of our curriculum alignment, as a brand new teacher in the district, it was really exciting for me to be on this team so I could really learn about the curriculum, really starting from 5th grade up till 12th grade for our performing ensembles. And we really tried to change some of the essential standards. We reviewed the essential standards that my predecessor left, as well as our current team we're working on, and we decided that we really needed to start aligning from 5th grade all the way up to 12th grade. So we are thinking more vertically versus just high school chorus, elementary chorus, middle school chorus, and trying to see how we can align those standards throughout the entire District 512. In addition, we're trying to unify our rehearsal expectations for our students. So I shared a choral rehearsal expectations guide for our choral teachers, so we try to further align our rehearsals, what we're expecting them to learn during the rehearsal process. And the instrumental world is also working to vertically align their curriculum as well, 5 through 12. We also are kind of rethinking how we assess our students from grade level to more mastery level, starting with the beginning level and intermediate and advanced level as well, versus grade 9, 10, 11, 12.
So that kind of brings us to the end of this year, but looking into next year and what our next steps are, we want to kind of put this stuff into action. So bring it to our department and put some of these things, especially that Leslie just pointed out, with our whole department. And we also, with the changes, with our new people coming in and our retirement, we want to invite those general music and orchestra teachers into the team next year so that we can kind of focus on those 2 areas and kind of round out the music program. And that's it. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for all you do. I know the music program is an important part of our students' experience here at Averill Park, and I appreciate that you guys do all that you do and make it work for everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
I didn't get the opportunity to attend all of the concerts, but I did see, for the ones that I attended, they were incredible. And then I saw videos posted from parents too, especially at the high school level, and was literally in tears at the sound of the choir. It was stunningly beautiful. So well done. The choir and then also the treble choir, I mean, weeping. It was so beautiful. So well done.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
I just want to say I appreciate the thought that you guys are putting in this. I'm just gonna soapbox for a minute that, we just tenured a bunch of science teachers and math teachers. And just in case we all need a reminding that whether the students you guys work with go on to, being music teachers, like certain people want to be, or not, or they just listen to music and have a great record collection. and can understand a little bit more based on what you guys taught them. What you guys are doing in music class has an effect in math and science class, and that's not just me, that is like decades of research. You guys don't need me to tell you, but I just want to, kind of give my appreciation for the depths of what it means to have a music education. And I will tell you, like when I look at just the reading music that I watch my daughter do, and it's the time signatures, like, yeah, I honestly don't know how you do it. And I'm curious to see how this plays out in terms of like the differentiation versus, I don't even know how you would begin to have one person who teaches saxophone and percussion and vocal and violin. Like, how do you even begin? I don't even know. You guys are amazing. But I'll be curious to see how this plays out. I appreciate the thought you guys. And maybe on second turn, maybe learn how to read music. Anybody else?
Yeah, to that point, I just wanted to shout out Mr. Rockamini, who it looks like, based on your plan, would be continuing to be the Renaissance man that he is over at West End Lake, which he truly, like, I'm like, well, that sounds like a lot that he's gonna do all that for 7 sections, but he's got it. And especially shout out their 5th grade performance where he did a duet with one particular student to be able to like highlight their musical growth. So if anybody has the opportunity to look that up on video. I am not generally a crier, but I was like weeping, so good. And I'm always impressed by the performances and how we literally have students that are like busting at the seams with on the bleachers for the performances, which I think speaks to how dedicated kids are to like continuing to be involved in the program. I know we're getting new bleachers, but it's just always really impressive to see, and we really appreciate all that you all do. So thank you. Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? Can you just go back to that slide that talked about what they're doing at the different elementary schools? It was just like a lot to read and listen at the same time, so I just wanted to have the original a second to look at it.
This one.
This one.
What we're currently are, or what
No,
we're
what
doing
you're
next
gonna
year?
do, yeah.
So that-
Yes.
Yeah, so I just needed one more minute to look at that, see if so they're basically gonna split their time between.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So we're on a 6-day schedule at the elementary level, so it would be 3 days of general music at Miller Hill site, and the next 3 days would be at Post and Hill, doing the general music. And actually, the art department does the same thing as well. They do 3 days at each building.
So it's like one focus on chorus and one focus on instruments?
Yes.
Oh, I see, so like one does both things at one school and one does both, and then the third school, one teacher does everything?
Yes, so ideally, the general music person is, specialized at the general music content, and they deliver that at both buildings,
Got it.
and vocal as well. And the instrumental person, their specialized content is instrumental music, so they would do that at both buildings.
Thank you,
And Mr. Committee continues to do the amazing things he does.
I witnessed that firsthand as well, so I completely understand, but thank you for explaining that was helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
As we're transitioning, just a couple points I want to raise. The challenge, I guess the challenge and success of curriculum renewal is seeing the things that they come up with that we don't always think about. The idea of splitting that position came from them. And when we had an opening, they approached us and said, is this something that the district would consider? And could we do it logistically? And much like last year, you heard technology coming up with an idea how to bring a business teacher. That came from renewal as well. So having this innovation come through that process is certainly rewarding for us as a district because you want to have that grassroots support for it. So kudos to the team for doing that. And as the writing renewal team steps forward, I will share one other story transitioning to this team. One of the early meetings with this writing team, one of the team members, who I'll point out to embarrass her, Jessie, said, at some point as the work was going on and it was going really, really well, she looks around and says,
guys, I'm so glad we're doing this. And I was like, as if someone wrote it down on a sticky note, and I've had it on my desk all year, because I think, again, a ringing endorsement for the process. That this is something, once you get them in a room and they realize how valuable that time is to have the discussions, we're just seeing great things year after year come out of this process. So it was a quote that stuck with me because I think it was a good commercial for what you're about to hear and for all the teams that come and present to you each year.
I wrote that Post-it note and gave it to you because I also was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, I just can't say enough about, I can't say enough about this team up here for writing renewal. Matt actually co-administrates with me on this team, and it wasn't really a team, actually. It was really ELA was a curriculum area that had renewal. However, back when that was going through its renewal process, writing really wasn't the focus of that. It was more on the reading, decoding, fluency side of things, and a lot of new programs were added because of that. But we were begging Matt to do something with writing because writing is so important and fundamental, and we really were, you'll hear from the team, doing a lot of different things. So this is more ground up than you heard from the music group, which is kind of existing in a really functioning, area. We are really starting at ground level and did a lot of work this year, which is actually our second year. And I would like to introduce the folks up here because they are the think tank. It is easy for me to sit there and lovely to sit there and work with people who enjoy teaching, learning. They're incredible. So we have K-8. We did consult with high school a little bit, but we really felt like the continuum for writing was K-8. So Courtney Antonucci is one of our elementary, 3rd grade. Jessie Beck, 5th grade. Samantha Grace, kindergarten. Joanne Hardin, 2nd grade. Marianne Reese, middle school. And also Catherine Reinish, middle school. Carolyn Wunsch couldn't be with us today, but she is our 1st grade representative. And then Matt and I. And again, I'm gonna hand it over to them to lead this because it is their work and I'm super proud of them.
Okay, this is overwhelming. Okay, well, first, we just have to say thank you for allowing us the time to meet as a K through 8 group. That doesn't happen often, so this was certainly special, and I'm so proud to be a part of this group. We started off with a lot of conversations, and our conversations were eye-opening right from the start. We discovered some significant gaps in our writing program, and so we decided to kind of reach out to all K through 8 teachers to get an idea via a survey. And in doing that, we were able to identify many gaps in the writing program, but also brainstorm ways that we can cohesively pull it all together to create a more cohesive program moving forward, K through 8. So this brings us to our goals. We collectively came together with a passion to really build well-rounded writers who can apply their skills to be college and career ready. Most often, we will learn the ELA program, any new ones that come our way, and we do the best that we can, and we will teach different templates or different formats to build great writers in our classroom, but we end up doing it often independently. And so that's really where we found the gaps were lying. So once we were able to have those communication, once we were able to have those conversations, we were really able to pull it together pretty quickly to realize our number one goal really needs to be to build those well-rounded writers who can apply their skills to be college and career ready. And like Carrie said, we were able to have the opportunity to meet with some of the high school teachers and realize that giving them more space for creativity and giving them the chance to find their voice as writers, those high school teachers have been a part of our conversations, really helped us to understand how important that step is to preparing our students to be college and career ready. So that leads us to our second goal, providing authentic writing opportunities to increase students' confidence, creativity, and agency really in their own writing. And then we hope to come up with a plan. I feel like we're very close. And I think that's our springboard for our next steps, to create a plan to support teachers with clarified expectations. I think a lot of times with our writing programs within our own grade level, we pull different resources, as many as we possibly can, without having the opportunity or the chance to work collectively with that K-8 continuum. And noticing with the survey, there was a vast number of tools that we were all reaching for, and realizing that the vocabulary that we were using to teach our students to write wasn't always consistent all the way from K-8. So we're hoping to streamline those tools and create a shared toolbox that is much more consistent K-8. So then to better able to support those students as they move into the high school and beyond. And then hopefully be able to do that with professional development as well. So I'm going to pass it over, and my colleagues will give you the how and the why it's so important.
So we definitely wanted to make sure that our work was informed by the science of writing. And a key resource for us was The Writing Rope by Joan Sedita. She lays out 5 main strands, which are up on the board, and I'll go into those in more depth in just a moment. But I did also want to say that The Writing Rope summarizes 6 meta-analyses of research, so it's pretty thorough. And all of the research, everything out there agrees on some key points, so those have been guiding us in our work. For example, frequent writing, of course, is important in building writing fluency. And writing fluency is essential because if you have to stop to think about how to form a letter or spell a word every time you want to express something, your writing is going to suffer. Student motivation and engagement is absolutely key, and the research provides some really important suggestions about how to achieve that, including writing for authentic audiences. So writing letters, blogs, and actually creating experiences for students where their work will be read and responded to for real, not just by the teacher. Providing mentor texts, so good examples of different things that you're trying to teach, whether it's how to write an introduction or how to present a persuasive argument. Having good examples is another gap that we found in some of what we were currently doing. And the research really suggests that that's something that we should put in our toolkit to give to our colleagues. Instruction, of course, should be explicit in all 5 of these areas. And reading and writing should be integrated with each other and throughout the curriculum. So what exactly does she mean by those 5 strands? Well, there it is. As you can see, and as I'm sure you realize, writing is a very complex process. And when you're talking about teaching writing, there are many, many things to consider. And depending on your grade level, you may focus much more on some things than others. And it follows a continuum. For example, my colleague Samantha in kindergarten spends a great deal of time on letter formation, and for the middle school, it's going to be much more of a focus on research, generating ideas, organization, that type of thing. So this lays out what critical thinking, syntax, text structure, writing craft, and transcription are really all about. Just to highlight the key points, critical thinking would be generating ideas, gathering information, research, and the writing process. So planning, drafting, revising, and editing. Syntax is constructing sentences. And that's another area where we found we really needed to provide more cohesive set of resources to build that foundational skill. Text structure is about types of text, so narrative or persuasive or informational, as well as how to organize what you're trying to say. Compare, contrast, for example, problem and solution. Writing craft is about authors' choices, developing voice, and really thinking about the purpose of everything you're trying to write, which can shape how each piece of writing takes shape. And transcription sounds very technical, but it's spelling, handwriting, keyboarding. And for some of us, the spelling component is actually a huge component of what we're already teaching in reading, but it clearly also translates to writing. So that's the research basis of a lot of what we've done. And this strand, the five strands, have really helped us have a framework for organizing what we're working on.
That's me. Okay, so we had talked about the survey that we had sent out. So we sent out a survey in the fall just to kind of see where all the K-8 teachers were and how they kind of felt about what we're currently using for writing, which, as we've mentioned, we're using a lot of different things. We're really lucky at the middle school, Kathy and I, 6 through 8, like we're together. We do use a program that we've been using for several years that's been really effective. And that's one of the things that we're going to try to incorporate in what we've been talking about. And that's just really a small piece of what we're doing when we meet. But anyway, the survey, we just wanted to see, what the teachers felt, and some of the things that the survey, we kind of knew this, but we just kind of wanted to have that data. The gaps. So that's like the biggest thing that we're looking at is the gaps that the students have. Whether it's from year to year, students are in different elementary schools, so there's gaps there, what different teachers are teaching. And with that said, the survey also had shown that collectively we're using over 20 additional sources to help teach writing. And that's a lot. And that's a lot to keep track of. And, kids are coming to the middle school with different experiences, using all sorts of different additional sources. And it gets really complicated for the teachers as well. So we really want something cohesive. We want common tools, common language, so when the students come to us at the middle school and of course eventually go to the high school, they're kind of all on the same playing field. This is just an example of one of the questions that we had, and this is the way that the survey was structured. This one is about rating the average student when it comes to writing, and then we had asked about, different areas of writing, the grammar, mechanics, spelling, organization, revising, editing, the content, motivation and enjoyment, and voice and creativity. And as you can see here, we don't have a whole lot above grade level. And of course, the question is the average student. So we're kind of looking at the average student here. And whoops.
So what was mentioned is that we are using a lot of different sources to help us with our writing across the board. And when we decided to just look at each other's, graphics, things that we're talking to the students about, they get wrapped, they get tied, they get, the hamburger set up there. I mean, there's just numerous ways that we're teaching them to write. And while there is some commonality through the process, the language is just always different. We've had kids come up to the middle school say, yeah, I've heard that before, but I heard it this way and I heard it that way. And it's because we're just in a lot of different places, and you're coming from 3 elementary schools up to the middle school. So as Mary Ann mentioned, the one on the bottom right is just this, we've been using a program, SRSD, which is self-regulated. And eventually students are should be able to get to a certain point where they can process their own writing and do this like on an automatic basis. Currently in sixth grade, for example, it's very structured because we're introducing it to them. And they're coming from 3 different places. So the full purpose of what we were trained in is modified a little only because we're dealing with not what they had intended. The program can be used in the elementary, but that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is simply even just getting a common vocabulary, just the way the process is set up. Because while we are vertically or horizontally aligned at the middle school, we're not across the board. So that's kind of our goal, and just looking at this was one of the other reasons that we felt, okay, we want to make we feel if we make small changes, that small changes would help. It doesn't have to be a total, okay, you're all doing this. That's not going to go over well, but also doesn't need to be that way. It just needs to be a little bit more commonality amongst all of us as colleagues.
Okay, so we obviously had to take apart some of these writing standards. I'm just gonna show you an example of one writing standard so you guys can see how complex these standards are, and you can see what we're kind of dealing with here. So this is Anchor Standard 1, and on surface level it seems pretty straightforward. It says that students should demonstrate command of the conventions of academic English grammar and usage when writing or speaking. So pretty much each grade level has this standard, and it seems pretty straightforward. That is until you break it down. This is just Anchor Standard 1 pre-K through grade 2. Just Anchor Standard 1. That's not, I mean, it doesn't even touch the surface of the rest of the standards, and that's just writing. That's not even including reading. So it might seem a little complicated to look at this chart. Basically what we did was along the top, we broke it down into, we asked teachers to tell us in K 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 what their children were exposed to in the classroom, what they were explicitly teaching, what they had to review, do a reteach, and what they had command of. And when we say command of, for example, if it's an adjective, we don't necessarily mean that they know exactly the terminology, just that they're able to use them correctly in their writing. We also obviously do teach them what adjectives are. So if you notice, according to this chart, there are a lot of things in kindergarten that students are exposed to. There are a lot of things first grade teaches. And you'll also notice that even though this standard is technically pre-K through grade 2, we're doing a lot of reteaching in the upper grades. This is concerning to us because we have our own standards that we need to be teaching. We have, we should be expanding on what they already know, but we're spending a lot of our time doing reteaching. So we're trying to determine why that is. This is the same Anchor Standard broken down through what kids need to know in grades 3 through 5. I also want to mention that it's very vague. So for example, it says, explain the function of nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs in general, as well as in particular sentences. It does not specify anything more than that, and it doesn't specify a grade that it's supposed to be taught in. So what's happening is, as you can see, everyone's kind of assuming they've already learned it. When you see a lot of this review in yellow, essentially what's happening is, so if you see like form and use the perfect verb tense, we're reteaching it every year. We're kind of grazing over that skill every single year, and then we're wondering why students aren't getting it. It's really concerning to see.
we're all working incredibly hard teaching these skills over and over and over again. And we're all required to teach skills that that we shouldn't really be having to spend time teaching because they should have already been mastered. So we talked for a long time about what we could do about this. This is grades 6 through 8. And you can see that they're still reteaching. They're explicitly, basically it shows the same thing that I've just talked about, but what, this brings us to a really important part in our action plan. We really need a cohesive instructional plan. We need to have specific skills that grade levels are responsible for across the board that align directly with the science of writing. We need to have specific standards for each grade level. We need to have faith in 5th grade that they've already learned something. And we also need to know that if I'm grazing over nouns for 2 days, that that I know who taught them and how they were, what language was used. Really, it's nothing against all of the amazing teachers in this district, because I think it's almost like we're working a lot harder than we are smarter. And so we're really just trying to align everything so we're not overworking ourselves at things that don't need to be. And the goal is to get things aligned, like our middle school friend said, so that by the time they get to them, we all have a common language and students aren't confused.
Lower this. I'm sorry. I have to say though, just on a personal note, we expose them to so much in kindergarten, but I have to tell you that getting a journal page from a kindergartner who has just found the excitement in putting a paper and pencil together and writing a note to me is probably one of the most kind of uplifting but empowering things. Just today we talked about the word you, and someone goes, oh my gosh, I wrote the word you 5 times yesterday in my journal because I was writing, I love you, I love you, I love you. I said, I love that, I love you, great job. So just writing is such a lifelong skill, and to be able to do it just like reading throughout your entire life is just such a wonderful gift. And I think it's really important that we take the time to kind of cherish it like we have with reading. So part 2 of our action plan, again, this is looking into the future and I can't predict it, I don't have a magic ball, but is to create a shared instructional toolkit for not only the benefit of our teachers, but the benefit of our students, having that confidence to go into writing where things are carried over vertically from K to 8, and ensure that common language, that they're not walking into, the next level of writing and worried about not understanding what is being instructed, and having that commonality across the board. And, quick little side note, I loved being a part of this committee because it gave me a chance to kind of take a risk and try something new. In my classroom, we started just analyzing a sentence that's decodable. So not only are students practicing reading a sentence with these blossoming skills, but then they're noticing things, and they really dislike the fact when I'm like, okay, I'm pulling a stick for the last part, and they're like, oh man, because of my stick. But just getting them to notice things and be excited about, I saw a space between words there. Oh my gosh, did you notice that's in every book? Everything I read has a space in it between the words. And so I think that just getting kids to be confident in the classroom, confident with their writing is a huge thing that we can gift our students as they go forward. And hopefully I brought some laughs. So thank you. And we really enjoyed spending time together. So thank you. Any questions? No. You have one? Go ahead.
The chart.
The one that was the multiple grades?
Yes.
Which grade level?
It doesn't really matter. As she said, it's pretty
That's overwhelming.
It is. Just curious, and I don't know, and it might be information overload, might be too much, but at some point, do we ever give parents that information so they know what they could be focused on or what they're required at that grade level, like.
I think now that we have this information, then yes, I mean, I think, right, parents are our biggest partners in the classroom. So
Right.
I think now that we have this information, then we can then share that to our own parents in each of our classrooms to kind of work together and have you be a part of that solution.
Right. I think it's fantastic because obviously we're so far removed from that it's like what, as a younger mom in the district, like, I'm like, oh, what should you be learning in there? What should you know? Or are we behind? Like, I mean, and then we get reports, okay, well, we are behind because we have a different teacher now. So it's like those things, I mean, I don't know, may or may not help knowing those things, but I think that's incredible and that's very valuable information. So thank you guys for like taking the time, and you can tell you all genuinely care about what you're doing. It shows, and thank you.
I was gonna say that, I don't know what grades your kiddos are in.
Kindergarten and second.
Okay, so we did talk about that's a little more straightforward and as you can see from this chart in K1-2 because, and it shows, right? They're exposed in kindergarten, they're explicitly taught in first and second essentially, and then you can see there's a lot of blue, there's a lot of command, where it gets a little, and having a second grader in the district, my child comes home all the time with, like you were saying, this is the exact skill, this is what he's learning. And it is really helpful at home. I think what's grades 3 through 5, and as you get to middle school, it gets a little trickier because there's so much that they're already supposed to have command of, and then we're just piling things on. For example, also, in the younger grades, they need to know what a verb is in the sense of, a verb is what you know. But when you get to 3 through 5th, jump. When you get to 5th grade, it's really more like complex sentences and being able to use verbs in many different ways for different purposes and different tenses. And so that's why we're seeing a lot of review there. So the goal, I'm sorry, I just wasted a lot of time with that. But what I meant to say is in 3 through 5, it would be really nice if we could get a really cohesive plan so that we could send things home like they do in K1-2, saying this is exactly what we're doing across the district in this grade, in this time of year, and you can practice this at home by doing this. But right now, we really don't, that's really tricky to do.
Yeah, we get the sheets, the monthly sheets
Yeah.
that they say, this is what we're learning, and it's super helpful, so that's why I wasn't sure, if, I don't know, and parents are still parents, right, so.
And this is only one standard,
Yeah.
so what you have to understand in ELA, English Language Arts with New York State, there's a lot of standards, and then there's the anchor standards or the top standards and what you should focus on. So, when we do share, it's gonna probably not be like this, because it would be overwhelming to parents and students alike. So what you wanna look at is what is the top thing that they're working on and things like that. So that's why it's been an overwhelming task for us as well, because there's just so much and
so many different ways.
And so many different ways and so many different people teaching a similar thing, but in different ways.
Right.
So it's okay in different ways, but the language has to be the same and a process has to be similar to try and get that to be cohesive for kids to build upon. And that you would see this in a better way of the colors rather than so much here and wow, they get to this grade and they don't know what, it says they have command, but they really don't. So, what to focus on. And that's why these processes are 3 years long.
And hopefully next year we'll be able to work to find a streamlined plan so you're not seeing that 3 through 8 as much reteaching as much as more command, and then moving on to then teaching them to read their audience and find their voice as a writer and then build on there rather than spending so much time reteaching. So.
And I know this seems negative, but we also want to reiterate that after talking to the high school and all knowing our students, we have amazing writers in our classrooms and across the district, and the high school teachers really applauded the younger grade teachers for all that we've done because they're coming to them as strong writers. So we're just trying to make them even better than they already are.
Yeah, as middle school teachers, when we were meeting, when the high school teachers were gonna meet with us, I know that I was feeling like, oh no, like what are they getting when they come? And but it was the exact opposite. Like they were so happy with the skills that they came with, and their writing. So it is positive, even though this looks pretty gloomy.
Only the best for AP, so.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I appreciate it sounds like you all have considered, recognizing that you guys are using a lot of different sources to teach this, and that can be a strength and a barrier in like continuity. And it sounded like you would take into consideration of like, well, we don't want to command everybody to use the same thing, and we want to give teachers like the individuality that they have or their own system and not upend that. But I think what you also said about teaching smarter, not harder, like so you're not reteaching, is like a really great way to, have buy-in and potentially consensus. And because I have a fifth grader who is right now in Mrs. Beck's class, I know in terms of the timeline, my fifth grader was disrupted in kindergarten by COVID. And so some of the exposure that you're talking about that gets built upon was certainly disrupted for his grade, and I'm sure is going to be at different levels for the subsequent kids you guys have coming in. And I just want to acknowledge that as like an additional element of trying to figure out who's exposed to what on top of trying to find that continuity. So but thank you for all your thoughts.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for digging in. It seemed like at first you guys might have been overwhelmed and looking at the chart. Yeah, I get that. But I appreciate that you took the time and you have the enthusiasm to like dig into it, find a path forward that's gonna make it better for you folks. But I think also, that's a bonus. You really focus on the students, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your enthusiasm with this whole thing, because it seems like a lot, but this is great, so thank you.
Of course, first and foremost, thank you for all the extra time and effort put into putting all this together and being on the committee. I see some familiar faces who I love and adore. And to Lauren's point about the continued residual impact of COVID and learning loss and things to that effect, it's interesting to me to see this data compared against a lot of the statistical data that's collected at the state level, to see how our students do compared to other districts, and to see that our students statistically do better than the state average in a lot of areas. So I know the impulse is to be like, I know this looks negative. I don't take it that way. I take it as the data is the raw data, and in order to address any potential issue, you need to recognize it, right? The first step of anything is admitting you might have a problem. So I applaud the willingness to put this out here and not be afraid to say that we recognize that there might need to be something that we want to do about it. So good job there. I am curious, because in my professional life, I encounter a lot of adults who cannot formulate a sentence. And y'all had nothing to do with that, I promise you. But also, we're starting to integrate a lot more of technology into this space, because you need to find a way to work around the fact that you have adults that can't formulate a sentence. So we're doing a lot of integrations related to AI and things like that. While I don't think K through 2 is going to have too many challenges in that, as the kids get older and start entering into middle school, proper usage of that technology to still maintain your own creativity and your own voice and all of that is really kind of important. And I'm curious, just you guys as educators, what your thoughts are on that and how that could impact our students.
And I have a teacher voice, but anyway, as far as, truthfully, in the middle school, one of the things we want is them to actually handwrite a little bit more lately. There's a definite connection between your brain and your body and handwriting and getting your thoughts out. And I had many students come to me on the day that we did have the New York State assessment saying, I'm exhausted doing that on the computer. Can we not look at a computer again? Which blew my mind. And I thought, because they all want to get on the computer, they want to get on and play. So when it is reading and writing, it's very, very stressful for them. And it does take a lot because they're not very fluent at their keyboarding skills. There's an issue with that as well. So getting those thoughts down in middle school, at least in 6th grade, is really difficult. And so one of the things we're trying to we backed up a little with the handwriting and trying to just get them to do it more writing on a piece of paper, getting your thoughts down. And, we are also using AI, but in ways in which, for example, we did something in our classes in 6th grade where it's often difficult to get around to every single student to edit with them all the time. And I'm in literacy, they're doing their big pieces of writing in English, and in literacy, I support that. And we're doing shorter pieces, but even with the shorter responses, to really go over that with them. So we set up an AI for the one lesson that we did where you put in all the information that you need, what you're looking for. It's through Magic School. We had been trained in that a little bit, and I was able to have my students input the paragraph that they were working on and got feedback, and then were able to make corrections on it, getting the feedback from the AI. Now, not as good as me, but it just helped a little with the pressure. And those who were brighter kids who feel really comfortable doing that, it was okay. Then I could go with the ones who were struggling and do a little bit more one-on-one. So their AI, while we have to, watch what our students do as they get older and take things as their own, it can be a very good tool as well. And so we've been using that to help us with the students and show them that you can use it in that way. So we're doing a lot of different things in that regard. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
This is so exciting. I kind of have two thoughts, both personally and professionally. One is, I think as I'm being on the board longer, I'm learning, and it seems like curriculum can change from time to time, sometimes very frequently, and I think that that's incredibly hard to then digest and then implement. And this is something that you guys took on yourselves, right? This isn't like some part of the requirement. So thank you for doing this. It just makes sense, right? To have it be K to 8, follow it along, and then reinforce on that same path. Because otherwise, if they're learning different things, how do you know what they've actually retained when they move forward? And it's not really even just about these basic metrics. Like, writing is a form of art, right? You have to be able to clearly express yourself, and that kind of gets to my second point. I'm an attorney. I read and write for a living. That's all I do. Over the years, as I get older, I'm seeing more and more kids, younger lawyers, having trouble communicating. And I saw a dirty word up there twice, grammar. For years, that's been poo-pooed, and I'm so happy that it's coming back because it's essential. Kids cannot convey their thoughts. So all of this is so exciting to me. Thank you all so much. The kids don't know yet how much they're gonna benefit from this. But part of it is the thinking about it too, right? Like it's the struggle in the learning and the uncomfortable. It's not just about checking these boxes. So thank you, Matt. This is an incredible opportunity for them, and I'm excited to see it with my little guy who will kind of be going through with most of it. Thank you.
Okay.
As somebody who writes for a living too, I appreciate it very much. And I like I don't know, find that book because that rope, that is genius. And I will tell you, I mean, it really is like duh, right? because like I do have to, to tailor a grant for one organization or from another organization, you have to be able to change your style, and so, like, I might just use that myself. This is great, and I wanted to say after the music as well, and this is probably the better time to say, is I really do appreciate, Matt, that the way that we are getting the practitioners on the ground, we are making use of their gigantic brains. My daughters are both very into Agatha Christie's, the gray matter, right? Her partner calls it the gray matter. So there's like lots of gray matter going on over there. And the fact that not to belittle you guys in any way or objectify you, but the resource, like this is a massive tool right here. I'm glad that we are kind of empowering people to use that tool to its best advantage. And again, you are not it's, you are amazing, wonderful, unique people.
Sam really knows how to compliment.
The gray matters, it's brilliant. So yeah, I'm excited to see this too, and I really appreciate it. Writing is hard. I was gonna say that, it's hard. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. This is all resolution. I got a lot of words. I wish you the board. I will go as fast as I can. Jim, we're okay if I just move to the main time for the retirees?
Yeah,
First
we are already at number 5 on the agenda.
Oh, then I thought.
I just have to be out of here by 6 a.m. to go to the box zoo.
Yeah, me too, so.
Oh, good Lord.
Travis has that, so.
Okay. I need a motion to approve. Well, let me read the resolution, then I'll ask for a motion, or do you want me just to refer to the motion? Okay, so what I'm gonna do with this one, because we did read the full motion, full resolution earlier in the evening, and we have it in our board docs. I need a motion to approve the resolution in appreciation of the services of retirees as read in the prior events. And okay, so Maggie first, Lauren seconds. Any discussion on our retirees?
Just again, to reiterate what has been expressed repeatedly of just that our staff is just the heart of what makes AP great for our students. And so thank you for all of their service and dedication and all the ways they go above and beyond.
I would echo that, and I would just say, Jim read the years of service at the beginning of the retirement celebration. And I would say the average was in the high 20 plus, or 20s of the years. And that was quite incredible for such a large group of people. So we definitely thank them for their service and wish them the best. Long and healthy and happy retirements.
And I'm just gonna follow on with just the ripple effect of my family individually. There were at least 2 retirees who had profound impacts on just this one family. And there's I can't even imagine the hundreds if not thousands of families who were touched by this group of people. So that's all I have to say. And if anybody else wants to say anything, now's the time, or we can put it to a vote. All those in favor of adopting this resolution too? That is unanimous. Okay, this one I am going to read. So I will read the resolution and then ask for a motion to adopt it. A resolution in appreciation of the service of Adam Stewart. Whereas Adam Stewart has served 3 years, 2022 to 2025, as a member of the Averill Park Central School District Board of Education. And whereas Adam Stewart has devoted many hours and continuous effort over those years to provide and improve the educational program for the boys and girls of the school district. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Education, on behalf of the students, staff, and district residents, expresses gratitude to Adam Stewart for his dedicated service and the significant positive impact he has had on our school and community. And be it further resolved that this resolution be incorporated as part of the minutes of the June 9, 2025 meeting, and a copy of said resolution be presented to Adam Stewart. Can I get a motion to allow Jess and Megan, sorry, just, any discussion from the matter before?
This guy's a jerk and he was just in it for the money.
Jesse.
I want to thank Adam for taking all of the time to break down all of the financial stuff since I've been on the board. I would not have been able to understand that without you. Thank you for all of the hours you clearly put in for our students and for our district as a whole. And I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah, I know my time on the board with you has been brief, but I just so appreciate the way you distill that information and make it in a way accessible, I think, for both your fellow board members, but also our community. That has been invaluable. And I remember when you came in on an intense year of like board elections, and with a very just level-headed approach that I really appreciate and has, I think, maintained throughout your time here. So thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So having had the honor and pleasure to serve with Adam, I want to just say that to live a life of service doesn't necessarily always have to be loud or boisterous. Impact comes in a lot of different ways. Sometimes impact is quiet, and sometimes impact is reserved, and sometimes impact is undervalued or unseen, but you've been hugely impactful and largely, I think maybe, some of the best artists are underrated while they're in the role, and then we come to appreciate them when they're gone. I have really, truly enjoyed working with you, getting to know you as a person, as a member of the community, as a dad, and really, I'm gonna miss working with you, and I hope that you don't stay a stranger.
I was gonna hang on to your number for the next public hearing on this budget education line. You laughed. I'm not kidding. No, Adam does have a really fantastic way of being able to translate. And so this is the end of a moment, but not the end. We'll stay in touch. I think you got something over there, Jim. Did we bring him here? Or did we?
I think you tried to do
He's
it.
gonna ready me to start talking.
Okay.
That was discussion, so
Thank you for everything.
all those in favor of adopting this resolution? Okay, you can vote for yourself if you want. Okay, I will read this resolution and then we will get a motion. This is a resolution and appreciate the service. I'm gonna say his full name, Theodore Engler, AKA Tate. Student ex officio, that's okay. Student ex officio board of education member, whereas, I gotta say Teddy, whereas Teddy Daymer has served, I hope that's okay, has served for the 2024-25 school year as a member of the Averill Park Central School District Board of Education as student ex officio board member, and whereas Theodore Dangler has devoted many hours and continuous effort over the school year to provide and improve the educational program for the students of this school district. And whereas Theodore Dangler has served to promote the education of our youth, most notably his leadership as board ex officio member to provide advice and counsel to our Board of Education and actively engage our community in the study of methods to improve our district. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Education, on behalf of the students, staff, district residents, express gratitude to Theodore Dangler for his dedicated service and the significant positive impacts he has had on our school and community. Be it further resolved that this resolution be incorporated as part of the minutes of the June 9th, 2025 meeting, and that a copy of said resolution be presented to Theodore Dangler. Can I get a motion? Megan, Jess D seconds, discussion.
I'm
Jess.
I'm just gonna actually reserve my comments for the next resolution because they're for both and I don't be repetitive.
Sounds wise, okay. You're gonna have to hold tight, Daddy. I took tight.
Whoever you are.
Whatever it is. Okay, so hearing no further discussion at this moment, all those in favor of adopting this resolution? Okay, all right, Jim's got something for you. the resolution and get a motion. This is a resolution and appreciate the service of Averill Juno, student ex officio member of the Board of Education. Whereas Abigail Juno has served for the 2024-2025 school year as a member of the Averill Park Central School District Board of Education as student ex officio board member. And whereas Abigail Juno has devoted many hours and continuous effort over the school year to provide and improve the educational program for the students of the school district. Whereas Abigail Juno has served to promote the education of our youth, most notably her leadership as a board ex officio member to provide advice and counsel to our Board of Education and actively engage our community in the study of methods to improve our district. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Education on behalf of the students, staff, and district residents expresses gratitude to Abigail Juno for her dedicated service and the significant positive impact she has had on our school and community. Be it further resolved that this resolution be incorporated as part of the minutes of the June 9, 2025 meeting and that a copy of said resolution be presented to Abigail Juno. Megan first, Adam second, sorry. Discussion. Megan, go ahead.
I have often said that this tradition that we have of having student representatives on the board is one of the best things that we do. And so I gloat and brag that we were doing it long before the state saw the value in it, and I'm so glad that we do it. In your lifetime, you may only have rare opportunities to serve as the voice for another person and to have the opportunity to use your voice and your platform to speak on behalf of others. You both have done so with honor and distinction in this environment. Your participation you've been engaged, you've participated, you've asked great questions, you've given valid input, and it's so appreciated. I wish you both all the best in your future endeavors. Congratulations on your upcoming commencement. And just go forth and continue to do us proud as you have in this body. Thank you.
Really hard to follow.
Sorry.
So I was going to point out all those things about what made it great to have you on the board, offering the perspective of the students, because after all, that's the real reason all of us are here, is like we need to benefit the students. But you also provide, in a way, inadvertently, somewhat of a feedback mechanism. So when you can state a question far more elegantly than I'm stating my statement here now, like stringing words together in a really coherent way and raising a point of view elegantly, that gives us all really good comfort that, like, Averill Park school system is working well because we're producing such substantial students. So I just want to thank you for that. But if Jim, if this is exemplary, and I hope it is, we're doing all right.
We've had some long meetings this year, longer than my first year. I'm not gonna blame Jim for that, but, no, but seriously, you guys have sat through some incredibly long meetings and you've always acted professionally and paid attention and asked good questions, made good comments. And I think you've also gotten to see some really difficult issues. There are times where the answer's not clear. There is no right answer. You know, we're still grappling with things like electric buses and that sort of thing. So kind of in conjunction with that, what Megan pointed out, where you have the voices for the community, that's a heavy and an amazing burden at the same time. And the best way I found in doing this is to have the discussions, right? We try to all hear each other's points of view. And so you guys have had the opportunity to be a part of that. And I hope that that's something that you take with you. And just thank you again for all the time that you put into this.
I would like to thank you guys as well. I agree with everything they've said and wish you both the best in your future endeavors. I know you're gonna do so great.
And just to add on to what everybody else has said, though, I'm just totally in awe of how well-rounded you both are, that you are able to give us perspectives of our science-oriented programs. I see you both working in the community and, you know, working with kids in track. It's just so impressive to me, like the various ways you both are involved, both academically and within your community, that gives you like even more of a unique voice for us, and it's been a pleasure to witness. So thank you.
If everybody's good, I'm just gonna thank you guys so much for your time and say the same thing I said to Anne, don't be a stranger. When you go out into the world and you see things you think that's something we should know about, we're here to let us know. Don't be, you have the perspective now, so. Thank you guys. So, this resolution is still on the table, so all those in favor of adopting it as written, thank you guys very much. We are at our first public comment session for items on the agenda. I do have 2 blue sheets for items on in regards to music, which was on the agenda. So I'll start the first one. These are brief comments, up to 3 minutes. We got a microphone going there. As per usual, we do not answer questions at this moment. Follow up, followed by the administrative team. Will happen after as appropriate. Okay, we'll start with Theo Hart. Speaking of music specialist.
Kate, the other one that was supposed to speak, had to leave early.
Gotcha. Oh, that's Kate right there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was afraid that was gonna happen.
I think she would send an email to you though. Hello, my name is Theo Hart. I'm a sophomore at Averill Park High School and I'm in concert choir, concert band, and jazz band. I would like to begin by thanking my amazing music teachers, Ms. Ellishuck and Mr. Blosky, as well as my counselor, Mr. Gildersleeve, for working year after year to find a schedule that works as well as it can. I would also like to thank Mr. Quiles and Dr. Francini for addressing the concerns brought up at a prior meeting. Receiving thanks as well are my elementary and middle school teachers, Mr. Ricamini, Mrs. Manna, and Mr. Jerzinski, as well as the other elementary music teachers, although I never had them. The students of the program appreciate the consideration, but we have more points to raise. I've had conflicts with music for all 3 years I've had to make a schedule. My freshman year, I had to decide to cut choir or honors English. This year, I skipped ahead to AP Physics and skipped Chem for now to avoid conflicts. And in my upcoming junior year, I would have to cut either Calculus or Chem once again to fit choir into my schedule. These are not problems with single courses or schedule arrangements. They're problems that persist year after year after year. And it's rarely a simple case of dropping from an honors course to a general education course. Even Regents Chem will not work with my schedule. In your address of our issues, you mentioned that other local schools have similar or even worse rates of class acceptance. Was this in relation to music classes specifically or across the board? If it's simply across the board, would it not be more fair to prevent it being the same students with conflict every year? Most music students, especially if they're taking multiple music classes, have to sacrifice courses important to them nearly every year. Are we truly embodying our motto of every student every day if the same group of students are consistently subjected to a worse, less desirable schedule? Optimizing the schedule for the greatest number of students stops being beneficial when the same classes are on the chopping block every year. Even if the similar rate is in reference to music classes in particular, making sure our students are receiving the incredible cognitive and social benefits should be a massive priority and source of school pride. The music department doesn't act in the same way as most other elective departments. For a student that doesn't get into the art or technology course of their choice, they can typically just take another in the same department. This doesn't work for music students, as becoming proficient at an entirely different music-making method requires hours of work for both students and teachers, and for instrumentalists, hundreds to thousands of dollars. These scheduling problems are not for lack of effort on the part of teachers, counselors, or students. Even core class teachers are willing to find solutions, with both Mrs. Oldendorf and Mr. Gildersleeve, my counselor, even willing to let me take AP Bio concurrently in chemistry my senior year. But even this would not work with projections of what the senior year schedule would likely be. We are told that the schedule changes every year. While this is partially true, this is mostly in reference to perhaps a second block of honors being added, not any real major changes. The same conflicts can be predicted every single year. I knew from 8th grade, making my freshman year schedule, that French 4 would not be possible for me to continue on to if I wanted to continue my instrument, and turns out this year, it's not. I also knew AP Calc was not going to be a possibility for me. And to this day, a year later from when I first had the conflict, I still am not able to continue both singing and my no-rural science track. Would it be possible to put some of these singleton classes on a rotating schedule so AP Calculus, for example, isn't during band every single year? Or alternatively, could we explore opening a second block for some of the music classes? Despite the low enrollment rates, music students are consistently school leaders and role models, being incredibly overrepresented in honors classes, student councils, and even NHS, with the past 3 NHS presidents all being heavily involved with the music program. Even on our student representative board, Teddy Dangler is involved with the music program. I plan to never drop this fight to protect the arts. The community will never stop fighting to protect the arts. They proved this with a petition receiving nearly 300 signatures from our community, mostly from concerned students and parents, your constituents. And I hope you, the board, and Dr. Franchini will never stop protecting the arts. As long as the Averill Park music program is treated unfairly, I plan to come to board meetings, present you with the evidence, and hope you are finally swayed. Thank you for your time and consideration. And do you want a copy again?
You can take that. Thank you.
Thank you, Thea.
Thanks so much, Thea. So I assume Kate will send us information, and that's all the blue sheets I have right now. So we can move along with gratitude for the public sticking around this long. To item number 7, approval of the minutes from the May 6th, 2025 meeting. Lauren and Megan, I know who got their hand up first. That's none. Any discussion regarding the minutes from last? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written? Just.
Was I here? I can't remember.
I don't think you were here. I just, I reviewed the minutes again.
It's late, we're all.
Right.
I was here, here I am.
Yeah, you were there.
Yes,
You were there.
unanimous.
Yeah. All right, so can we just take that vote again? All those in favor of approving as written? Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks, guys. Okay. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda 8, 9, and 10 for business, personnel, and special education. Megan, Mary, and Jeff D. Discussion. Alan.
So, last night of my term here, I'm coming with an ignorant question. Item 8C is approving the audit committee meeting minutes. And I'm wondering how can a majority of our board approve the minutes of a meeting where only 2 board members were present there? So I can vouch that I was there and the minutes accurately reflect what happened, but I'm just kind of curious, is that how it works?
So just, I interpret it as accepting those. And so the vouching, so basically, those minutes being presented to us with you on board meant that they would become part of public record, so that you vouch, we trust you,
Okay.
we accept them into the record.
Alright.
That's how I.
They're accurate.
I
Yeah,
vouch as
Barb
well.
was there too.
Okay,
That's all, thanks.
yeah, that was how I interpreted it.
I have a couple things.
Go ahead, Jess.
I just wanted to thank Algonquin Middle School Student Council for their donation to help fund the local artist to paint a mural at the school. And I also wanted to thank the Post and Kill Elementary PTA for their donation to help fund the 4th and 5th grade learning pod. And I just wanted to take a second, even though we did honor retirees, but these 2 people are new to our agenda for approval tonight on their retirement. And so congratulations to Dennis Simpson and Rebecca Everett on their retirements. We thank them for their service and wish them the best in their retirement.
No, you're welcome. And I just wanted to thank the team that makes everything happen over the summer. We all sort of go on about our wedding disappear, and there's still lots going on in the district over the summer. Some of which is, helping our kids retain educational content, and some of which is helping families get through the summer. And so I just appreciate all the everything in this agenda that points to all the work that happens while we're off gallivanting. Okay.
Got time to tell.
I know, right. Any further discussion about this consent agenda? Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of adopting as is. Thank you very much, that is unanimous. Okay, we've got a number of action items I will go through as quickly as I can. And so we'll start out with item 11A. I need a motion to approve the agreement by and between the Averill Park School District and Honeywell Law per the attached document. So that is Megan and Adam. Okay, discussion. Honeywell Law. Okay, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving that agreement. Thank you, that's unanimous. Okay, 11B, I need a motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement by between Averill Park Central School District and Troy City School District and per the attached. That's Lauren first, Jess seconds. Was there a question, or just D, I'm sorry, just Z, I'm sorry.
Z.
Yes. Discussion on item B.
I already talked with Jen.
Okay, so we're good, okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving 11B? Any against and abstentions? That's unanimous, thank you guys. 11C, I need a motion to approve the agreement by between Averill Park CSD and the Children's Center. Adam and then Megan. Discussion on the Stark Center. Grateful for their expertise. All those, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving this agreement? That's unanimous.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Am I allowed, do we have to do each of these individually, or am I allowed to make a motion to adopt or pass items 11D through 11 and as bulk? Am I allowed to do that?
You can make a
I would
motion.
like to make that motion if no one objects.
Second. Okay, so Megan, seconded by Lauren, makes a motion to adopt the,
Was it C? It was 11C?
it was D, it was
C.
11D
Okay,
through
11D.
11N as well. And so that's been first, it's been seconded, discussion on the board.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the clubs, I'm assuming the levels are based on size of the club, but I just figured I would ask to get clarity, like I see they're changing levels 3, 4.
Yeah, that's a good question. So size of the club, number of times they meet, activities they do, all those type of things are factored in. It's a committee with 3 administrators, 3 teachers on it that needs to review them. Once they're in the collectively bargained contract, they're frozen there, except those first year clubs, per the last contract, they all start at level 5, and then if they are continued into a second year, that's when that committee sets the level.
And what is the level, I'm sorry, what is the level again?
They're 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
Is it like 1 is the largest, or is it?
1 is the highest stipend, 4 is the small stipend.
Oh, so it's just a payment
It's just a
statement.
payment, yeah.
I got you. I didn't know if that's what I was confused by.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
yeah.
you for clarifying.
Yep, no problem.
I was just gonna, the only discussion I had was just to just point out Saratoga project management, keeping them on board, and it's just amazing what they've done in saving the school district lots and lots of money, which is always a good thing. So I just wanted to point that out. Okay. Any further discussion, items 11D through 11N? Any further discussion? Here's your chance. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving these items all together, that is unanimous. D through N are approved. Okay. Okay. Item 12A, I need a motion to approve the following bond resolution as noted, dated June 9, 2025, to purchase school buses at an amount not to exceed $971,099. Megan, first, Lauren seconds, discussion.
So that's what the public already
That's
voted on,
approved.
we're
This
just
is the
actually
bond.
bonding it right now.
And it is all diesel buses. Just so we're clear for right now. Okay. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of approving 12A on for buses, thank you, that's unanimous. Item 12B, a motion to approve the following bond resolution dated June 9, 2025 for financing on a $39.9 million capital project. Adam and Megan seconds, discussion. Seeing no discussion, hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving 12B as written. Yes, that's unanimous, thank you. Item 12C, I need a motion to accept the results of the May 2025 budget vote proposition for our attached. Megan first, Lauren second. Discussion?
I want to thank everyone in the community who engaged and came out and voted and used their voice. Voting is an integral part of being an American, and everyone should be involved. I would like to encourage folks that did not to please get engaged and come out and share your thoughts with us. I think there's a lot of stuff that happens online and in the court of social media. And I would encourage people to take it off of that and come here and engage with us so that we can participate in a productive conversation with you.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting 12C, budget proposition? That is unanimous, thank you. And item 12D, I need a motion to approve the internal auditor's 2024-25 risk assessment corrective action plan. And for attached Adam first, Jess Z seconds. In discussion on the hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving. Item 12D, approving. Anybody? Nope, nobody against? Okay, that is unanimous, thank you guys. Everyone's favorite topic, policy. We have first readings of 22, 24, ex officio members of the board. Just some minor, I can just kind of run through roughly what each of these are. Nothing major that we went through. Just some minor adjustments, I would say, in the class size policy to make it more relevant. Opioid prevention, I believe that is local, not, that's not mandated, but we definitely want that. That is a value that we hold very, very close to our hearts, and we want to get that explicitly outlined.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve 13A, B, C, D as written and waive further readings.
Second part. Discussion on any of these policies that are now on the table.
I'm okay with the first one, but I don't plan on voting the same on all of those,
so.
Okay.
Then I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So
we have to,
Individually, we gotta go through,
we'll go
and that's
into,
fine.
but there's a motion on the table.
So I think
We need to vote on the
We have to
motion.
vote on
the motion. We have to vote on the
we should
motion.
vote on the motion. So all those in favor of adopting 13A through T?
Would it be the motion to vote on them all at once?
Yeah, that's the
That's the
motion.
motion.
That's
The
the
motion
motion.
is to waive second reading on all four and adopt as written on all four, so.
So in order to take them individually, we vote that motion down.
I mean, I can address that, and I don't mind, there's just one that there's one that, I would vote yes to. All of the rest, I would, and I know you guys work really hard on this, and I mean no disrespect, and I think you guys know that by my personality by this point, but, at some point we, again, just less is more, when we handcuff the district's, hands to things, I feel like we can get ourselves in a predicament that then we're trying to backpedal out of. Again, not that I want large class sizes by any means, but again, I think that that's where the controversy lies and people start critiquing it and coming in and talking to us about it, and we have policies that are in effect that we do not follow. Something as simple as the dress code. At some point if we create these policies, we really truly have to have somebody implementing and following, and my chair's broke over here, so sorry, that was, it's like I'm trying not to get cut. But we have to be able to have effective policies that are in alignment
and people are following, and not that these are bad policies by any means, I think they're great, but I think it boils down to what is the policy, and are we putting too much on a district, or are we trusting them to do their job and make them have their own guidelines? And that's kind of the way I feel on it. So again, no disrespect to you guys, they are solid policies. It's not that you guys did anything wrong, but again, I just don't want a parent coming in here and, complaining every week on something that they're not wrong. We have a policy, and so now the district's hands are tied because they're supposed to be following a policy that somebody's not. My concern is for the district's sake and the liability of the district, so that's the main thing. Sorry,
Justin, Mark.
I just want to ask that everyone else, before we vote on whether to do it all at once, if you would consider giving us the opportunity to address them each one by one, because they cover very different topics.
Well, I mean, I think, yeah, I was gonna say, they're
I know
all.
what I want to ask, because you guys could.
Yeah.
Can we just take the motion
We
off
could
the
just take-
table?
Yeah,
Adam would have to withdraw the motion. wouldn't
Oh,
he?
I hereby withdraw the motion.
okay.
Just trying to get that.
Yeah, no, I understand, I appreciate it. Do we need it, we don't need a second. Okay. Right, sure. Oh, is that what you're gonna do, Lauren?
If you need it, if not, let's just say
Okay,
we'll move
all
on.
right, so, should we, does anybody wanna discuss, the ex officio? Okay, that is,
So I will make a motion to waive second reading of policy 2244, ex officio student member of the board, and adopt as written for that one. Anyone second?
Jesse seconds, okay, any discussion?
I just want to note that on the side, it lists it as 2244, but then the attachment lists it as 2245.
Good catch.
Just want to clarify which, but other than that, no other.
All right, hearing no discussion on policy 2245, all those in favor of adopting, waiving second reading and adopting as written? Okay, that is unanimous, 13A. Okay, 13B, 4420 class size. Now, some discussion has been started on that. Well, no,
actually,
just
no,
it's first reading.
Yeah,
So it's first reading, so let's read. Gotcha.
Anybody make a motion to approve it?
No, we don't need to make, we can still, because it's just policy reading, we can discuss in perpetuity. But hopefully not.
Right, and you were gonna go.
And then when we make a motion, we can have further discussion if we want to, but we're just
We don't need to.
reading the policy. Yeah, we don't have to do anything really.
So I understand
Oh.
Michelle's concern, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay, I thought Jess was gonna go, that's okay.
You wanna go first?
We good, she goes first then.
I apologize. I wanted to say that I understand Michelle's concern about having policies that sometimes we could be put in a position to, or it could be construed that we're not following, or that we could, I say this all the time in my industry, you don't have to have done anything wrong, someone just has to say you did, and then you have, call on the carpet to explain yourself. So I absolutely understand Michelle's perspective and worry that someone could then use adherence to a policy to prevent the district admin team from effectively completing their role. And I understand my concern.
I have a question, Joe. Can I answer the question?
Sorry, before I forget it. Does the district have an employee handbook with guidelines and protocol as to what you guys do? I guess my question is what is the difference in what you would define as a policy implemented for our district to follow versus a guideline or job description or protocol that you guys would place for employees? Does that make sense? Because that might clear up a lot for me.
Yeah, that's a good question. So we definitely do have practices, we definitely do have handbooks, and we definitely do have policies, all kind of interwoven.
Policy's different than what we present?
No, these
Oh, okay,
policies here. The word that we most, the one that we try to avoid, we say policy, right? Because that literally means just board policy, but there are practices and procedures that we follow all the time. They have to be in line with the policy. but they're getting tweaked and changed. So similar to like a regulation within your policy manual can be tweaked by the administration, it's not board approved. But we do have handbooks in different departments.
You guide people.
Code of conduct for students, we have, so those things definitely exist. And then there's just kind of the more loose term of just practices that we use frequently. That's just not our practice, or it's just not what we do. So, does that make sense? There are definitely different levels of the policy, being the highest level of
District is.
authority, yeah.
I would say like a good example just is with the ex officio, where we're not directing Jim on how we arrive at having Patty and Abby here.
That's a state law that we're having.
Well, now, yeah, but even with the state law doesn't say you have to take the 2 students who have the highest GPA and participated in the most thing, or they have to write an essay. Like, there's no detailed directive on how we ended up with Teddy and Abby. So I think that's just, does that help, that the policy says you have to have these students? And then it's up to Jim on how it is determined who they will be.
I think this is, the issue with this one goes to something that we've discussed regularly as a board, which is what do we want our policies to be? Sometimes it's, we want guidelines or we want goals that we strive for, but on the other side of that is less is more, and the words in this one, the district will strive to achieve. What does that mean? There's so much outside of the district's control, lack of space, scheduling, uninspected enrollments, financial resources, all of those things. I just don't see a need or a benefit to this policy, and sometimes I do think it's good to have some clear goals identified for who we are, like every student, every day, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, policy is meant to be, this is how we're gonna do things. For example, even if the law wasn't passed, if we wanted to ban cell phones, that's a rule. That's not a guide, that's not a we'll try, that's not a we hope. And that really should be preserved for, in my mind, the highest level goals we're trying to achieve. Something like this, it has no impact. How are we gonna say that they didn't strive to achieve? So I don't think that this is one worth doing. I think I would repeal the other one. Anything that's gonna have wishy-washy language as something at this level where we have so little control doesn't make sense to me.
I just want to point out that this policy is specifically referenced in the APTA contract. Article 19, Section 4 actually says class size, and it says refer to Board Policy 4420.
What is this, what does the contract act like? I need more than just that.
What's the context of it?
Yeah.
Well, Article 19 is, sorry. Let's say it's workload. Article 19 is teaching hours and teaching load. So Article 19, Section 4 says class size, and then it says refer to Policy 4420. So I'm just pointing that out. I hear what you're saying. I'm just pointing that out, that it is specifically mentioned in the contract.
So how does that affect their contract if we give them a larger class size than what's in our policy?
The policy just says we're gonna strive.
Right.
It's not gonna say that we have to meet anything.
Well, I understand, but I'm saying from her perspective,
Well,
if it's contractually on there, you see what I'm saying?
No, I know, I do.
So you're saying we have a loophole again, because
It's
it's
not, it's more like we're saying in those contracts, this is something the district is prioritizing. They're gonna say that generally when they have any control over it, this is what we're gonna try to do. But when we can't, we won't. That's why that references this. That's saying like the teachers are basically promised that the district is gonna try to accomplish this 18 to 22, K to 3, that sort of thing.
So let
you're
me
saying
just do this, I wanna go Jesse, okay, I wanna go to Lauren's been waiting, and then I wanted to respond to that, go ahead, Lauren.
I just wanted to say that I also understand, to Michelle's point of we don't wanna narrow ourselves down, that we're creating liabilities or points of conflict all the time. That being said, I don't think if we did away with this, people would stop complaining about this. I just don't, it's a hotbed issue that parents are concerned about whenever there's a classroom problem. And I know that there was one particular parent who referenced the policy, but I would wager, like, even though I think our policies are important, most of the people that came here to complain did not, or were not even aware of that policy. So I don't know that the policy's existence. Let me finish, like, responding to it, because I do want to hear your thoughts about it, but like, I don't know that the creation of the policy is what inherently made the upheaval. I think there was a particular struggle in that for those parents, that they were gonna come and complain about that, but even if we were below the numbers and they felt that much chaos in their child's experience, they're gonna come, they're gonna come to complain about that as, or adhere to it, which I think that they should. I just wanna say, like, in general, in terms of like being involved with the policy committee, I feel there's real tension in trying to adhere to you guys' feedback of, well, we don't wanna tie the district down to anything that we can adhere to, but then on the flip side, well, we're being too wishy-washy. Like, we specifically talked about this policy, expanding the language so that we didn't tie our, administration down. But then on the flip side, then it becomes too wishy-washy, so we can't, it becomes an impossible situation. And I do think that there are some situations where I'm like, I'm on the fence about whether or not how clearly we have to communicate a particular value. But the value in the necessity, bless you, of like smaller class sizes for our youngest learners, like this particular one is what I think expressing that is a value for our community is an important one. Like, of all the ones that I'm like, what, do we need to say this? I don't know. To me, like this one, I would want that, because it speaks to the specific needs of early learners. And there are very unique challenges and supports being stripped away from that population that is going to have long-term effects that I think we need to, to me, we do need to reinforce that value somewhere, even if it's not exactly in this, policy as it's written today. But I'm just saying, I just want you all to know that like that feedback of it's not specific enough, it's too specific, means there's a lot of like, well then, our hands are tied either way, and the primary function of having a board is to create policies. We need those policies.
Let me just chime in with one thing that hasn't been, for my part, is we are very lucky right now to have Jim Frangini and Matt Helena and Carrie. We have this exemplary group of folks, and please don't let it ever happen, but it may come to pass that we don't have a Matt or we don't have a Jim. And having no policy guidelines that very clearly instruct where focus should be. So as things change, this, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, or Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, is that as enrollments shift and people move and busing changes, this does serve as a guideline for who stays, who goes, who gets moved where, in service of these expectations. And, adding the strive to achieve was, we didn't want to be in a position where we have a policy and we are directly contravening, is that the right word? Like, we didn't want to like outwardly be saying, like flouting a thing that says class sizes have to be X to Y. And
I think you can accomplish your goal with just that first paragraph for now. It literally says that we care about class size, with recognition that there may be larger from size to size, or from time to time, the board will consider reasonable efforts to alleviate excessive class size. Giving these numbers down below, because strive to achieve doesn't really mean anything. So, and if there's a time where we unfortunately lose margin, not gonna happen hopefully, but if it does, it's not like you can't revise, put in a policy, but the problem is we call different things policy. Sometimes the policies are an absolute, this is what I was saying before, like you cannot use cell phones 8 to 3, period, you can't do that. As opposed to, we'd like for there to not be cell phones out from time, like that is not, so the different policies will warrant different language, but this is one, the ones that are wishy-washy, like this one, aren't really bringing the impact. Since we reference it in the contract, I think it's worth keeping that first paragraph, which shows that we care about class size, and then we'll leave to the discretion of our admin as to what that means for the guidelines.
But that wouldn't feel like more wishy-washy? Just have that first paragraph without any like vague.
Well, it's just saying that
Because
you
the first
prioritize
part-
class size. That's what we're doing. The second half doesn't have any meaning.
To me, the first half, to say we care about something doesn't have much meaning, to say like how we want to see that care shown. And I think, to me, that's part of the point of it's, like, I hear what you're saying about the difference between policy and guideline, but if we adopt the first part as like policy, that paragraph, then we give broad guidelines, which we altered per administrative feedback of like what changes they would need to make. Because the previous one, I think, was blocked down to like kindergarten, first, second, and we did it in a block of K through 3, and then 4 through 5, because it gave the administration more of the leeway that they needed and had utilized before.
I have a couple of questions that may require additional research, and then when we come back to discuss this again, as I think we're gonna need to, we can have those answers. The first question I have, it relates to sort of reasonable and customary, right? So all of the policies and the policy language, we generally take on recommendations from NISBA. So I guess one of my first question is, do the majority of districts have a local policy centered around this? And what is reasonable and customary based on, just general practice? My second question relates to the reference of a policy in a contractual agreement with our most valuable resource, our teachers, and would changing, undefining, or removing said policy then cause us to be in violation of a contract that we can't amend midway through without further negotiation, I would assume. So those are my two primary concerns. I see the value to both sides of the argument, and as I often do, I think that there's a balance to be sought here, because I see the intent for both Jess and Michelle to not kind of back us into a corner. But I need those two questions kind of answered before I can formulate a final opinion.
And my point was that class size, this particular policy, isn't the only policy that parents or staff or community members have brought up this year alone to us, saying, you're not in alignment with this. And they're not wrong. So I want that to be very clear that this is just not a one-off class size issue. That was my whole point. It was, we keep backpedaling, and if we don't have to, why are we? We didn't know what the information she had just given us, which is if a contract already states that, well, now we have a whole nother caveat that we've got to try to figure out as to how to address that. Because I don't think they want to go and change all their contracts. So I think that it's something that we maybe get guidance from the district on. But again, it's at some point, if we're going to create a policy, it needs to be followed.
I hear you, and your concerns are valid, and I'll also point out that literally every time someone has a problem, we get you say every student every day thrown in our face. So I hear exactly where you're coming from, and I just think we need a little more discussion on it.
Yeah, and I don't
For
disagree
the
with that
second
point.
one, we would just have to do an MOA.
Say it again, Steph?
If there was, my gut reaction is if the contract has a reference to a policy that no longer exists, we have to do an MOA, just like we do all the time with the association.
But I assume that would have to be agreed to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I feel like it's not that simple.
I mean, that would be.
Getting rid of the policy altogether would not be a good path if it's already referenced in the contract.
But my point is that the language is not enforceable, so as long as we just say we prioritize, we're achieving our goal. Giving numbers that we hope to achieve doesn't mean anything.
Well, I just think it reflects the district as a whole, our community's values, and that's why I would advocate to leave it in there. But remember, the policy committee has been working really hard to eliminate policies that we are no longer finding useful. And in fact, last meeting, I think we rescinded about 10 of them. So just keep that in mind too, when we bring these forward, we have always thought about this, and the concerns you guys are bringing up as we review every policy, so.
And I want to be clear too, that like I do not disagree on the point of like, if we are having a policy, it's because we want to follow it, but, so it's not a matter of me feeling like we should have policies we don't stick to, but like to me, the earlier grades have taken a number of hits in the past few years, with, the budgetary concerns, and we want to, hold accountable to being considerate of that, and where we make those cuts. I would hope that we would adhere to that in subsequent budgets.
So here's what I'd like to do, this is a first reading. I think that there's more information that we want to gather on this particular, cases to be made on either side and somewhere between. That I don't think we're gonna resolve tonight, and that's okay. So we can, hold over 4420, for a second reading, recognizing that we do still, we have a 4420 on the books right now.
Right.
That's not this language, so we are not in violation of anything, such as it would be.
We just brought forth this modification because we added the teacher ratio, given that we're moving to a co-teaching model.
So
Think that.
I think I fully understand your concern, because if you list, these are our goals, and then you don't meet them, you give people ammunition to come say, these are your goals and you're not meeting them, do your damn job. So then we add a little disclaimer at the bottom saying, hey, we're gonna use our best efforts, but there's no guarantees. And then the policy becomes wishy-washy, but that's kind of how our position is, unfortunately, because it's like, all right, our funding stinks, so we can't afford to have the optimal teacher-student ratio. So we can't meet these guidelines, but the policy says we're not legally obligated to meet them to the letter. And I don't know what else to do with it. Like we have to choose between two bad choices, and nobody likes either of those choices, so they're gonna complain about it, but that's what reality is. So I don't know if there's a way to clarify it. Like, I wouldn't get rid of it, because I think you probably wanna say, yeah, this is how we wanna run our district. Smaller classes are better within reason. But you also wanna say, but it's not a guarantee. I don't know if that helps.
I think my whole point and perspective is that if Jim wants to hire somebody, I have to trust Jim's position that we have elected him to. If Jim tells me his hands are tied and this is the best plan he has, I would like to feel that I trust superintendent elected to operate his district as a business that he is over in general, and trust him. If I don't trust him, we need to find someone new. Or if we get someone that we don't trust, then yes, that's when we say, let's reel it in. Let's start tightening down the restraints as to what we like to guideline. I guess that's my stance, and maybe I'm wrong for it. Maybe I'm too trusting of a human and to think that somebody is going to do the job that we hired them to do, or we would get rid of them. Like, I don't know, that's my take and perspective on it. I think that a policy is a high level. It's not a goal, it's different than a goal. And I think the district should have its own goals that we're trusting our team, our cabinet to manage and take care of. That's, I guess, my whole view and perspective. Do I want smaller class sizes? Absolutely. And we've had many discussions, and how many questions did we ask about co-teaching and all the things to make sure we were understanding, but when the day is said and done, we're not gonna understand the level that they go because they're in it every day. And we are at helicopter level. So do I wanna make absolutes and policy when we're at a helicopter level and we don't have all the information that they have? And the reality is that we don't, because unless you and I are working this full time, we're looking at
reports, we're looking at meeting notes, we're like, okay, someone's in safety, someone's in this, like, we're gathering all this information, again, at a helicopter level. Why am I gonna be down here on ground roots where he's here every single day and saying, Jim, make the class sizes this size? Or Jim, I want the class sizes this size. Like, I think that's a want and a goal that he should strive for, and I gotta trust him to do his job. That's the way I'm looking at policy.
But that's
Yes.
right, policy is the guidelines and Jim is the implementer. That's how that works. We are the guidelines.
Well, that's why I
and he-
just asked him if he has those, that
Right,
was that
right,
question.
so he implements those guidelines.
So suppose Jim wins the lottery tomorrow, we gotta find a new Jim.
Right, or help.
Bring somebody in from downstate, they're like, oh, I can balance your budget really quickly. We're just gonna reduce class, reduce the ratio, so we're gonna have 30 students in a class. It worked pretty well for us downstate.
Then you implement a policy. Like, if you don't, I guess that's what you're, like, I guess that's what I'm not understanding. Like, you can add policies on. We can call a meeting and say, I don't understand why.
If that is restricted to then tying the hand of the specific superintendent, that all of a sudden that board member has decided that they don't trust for one reason or another. And so I think to like what you were saying, like here, we're not saying class sizes could be 23, but Jim would then come to us and say, okay, class sizes are gonna be 23. I did my due diligence, but based on X, Y, and Z, this is why we're gonna end up with 23.
I think we're just gonna have to agree to disagree on what the policy is for, I don't, that's just the way I feel. And again, I mean, no disrespect, I know you guys work very hard, but I guess my view as to, I want them to feel comfortable to be able to do their job and me not set expectations and demands on them when I am not in the trenches with them. That's my concern. Does that make sense?
Understood, so it's, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I kind of, because there's such a direct correlation to the board policies and then how the admin team is empowered to be able to do their work. I think that the kind of the fundamental basis for having a policy stems with creating a level of consistency for the admin team to be able to do what they need to do and make the decisions they need to make, both within the realm of what's required by regulation and then what the expectation is for the board. Because of the sort of rotational aspect of us in these seats, there's no guarantee that any of us are gonna be here longer than the regular appointment. The policy, as I see it, creates a somewhat of a stable structure for the admin team to kind of work towards. I think that if there was a situation that, at least I would hope that if there was a situation where a policy that we were adopting was putting the admin team in an uncomfortable position where they felt like it was constraining them, that they would feel comfortable speaking to us in that space. So like, Jim, if this was something that you felt was going to put you in an uncomfortable spot or put you in a bad space, I hope that based on the current structure, you could say something to us that we could have an open dialogue about it, where like we're having this open dialogue and the goal is for us to reach consensus, right? We're not always gonna agree on everything across the board, but the goal is to make sure that as a consensus, we can all understand that what we are doing is facilitating a productive and positive environment for the admin team and thereby the teachers to be able to do their work on the day-to-day and not at the helicopter level like we are. I don't disagree with your perspective on it, but I also want to hear the reasonable and customary. What is the recommendation? What is the usual? And are we doing anything in this function that is going to make you in a bad spot? That I want to hear that perspective.
I just wanted to say, like, from a board member perspective on the policy committee thus far, we garner that information from them all the time. We literally brought them into the room to check the language of this and ensure that it was. And I've, heard from Jim pretty regularly if there's, hey, we have this policy, like one that comes to mind you mentioned was the board approving field trips based on distance and state. Like, we're getting that feedback all of the time. The opioid one,
we pause to say, wait, let's check with the nurses, what are we actually doing? What will help them to continue to do the work that they're doing in the way they want to do it? So we are getting that constant feedback all of the time from administrators and teachers. I don't know that, like, I don't know how you all would know that if we're just electing to only have like part of the board on the policy, but thus far anyway, I've heard, I can't think of a single committee meeting where we haven't had that input, where we're checking, wait, this says something about the safety committee, let's check with somebody on the safety committee, what does that look like? Is this language accurate? Does this tie your hands? Does this help you? It's very collaborative, so.
Yeah.
That.
We pull it, like, we have a few coming up talking about transportation and Kim's already pulled Mark in, so.
I don't know that
Let
that
me,
was.
so let me just do this. You guys, yeah, it's 10 o'clock, so here's what I'd like to do. Jim, Matt, Kim, can we, what I'm hearing is a little more feedback on what helps you guys do what you need to do as the landscape changes, right? It is more or less in this particular, 44-20, like, is more or less better. And the other thing that I would wanna know is what would we anticipate a teacher's response if we went with something with much more vague language? What does that mean for you guys? What does that mean for teachers, like visceral response and then legal response? I don't think that we need to answer that now. I think we have something in place. We can have a second reading, people do it all the time, and we can follow up with you guys on this. Because I think these are all valid points. We want to empowers you guys to do the job that you can, and that sets us in a good place for when.
With the public.
And if, yeah, with parents, with the community, and with somebody else sitting in that chair, heaven forbid.
It will happen eventually.
It's never gonna happen. Okay, so we're gonna hold that over for a second reading. We have the first reading on 8121 opioid overdose prevention. That's about opioid, here, Megan, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to waive second reading and adopt as written, policy 8121.1.
Okay, and Adam seconds. Discussion on this one, 8121.
I just lost internet, but I was curious if we're having issues with opioid overdoses in school right now.
I mean, not now. Enough in the community to warrant having this.
Well, no, I know in the community, but I think, I lost my internet, but I think this talked about having this stuff in school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why I was.
And to the point, that was one that we like double check to say, let's check in with the nurses, what are they doing? Are we making sure that we're not including any language about training that is above and beyond what is reasonable or what they do already, and
Are they already trained?
Yes.
The nurses are already trained on this?
and we had
As well as
options.
others.
Yeah, we had options of which language we could select, heard back from nursing to say, which one are we doing, which one do you all want that we can actually keep with? And that's the choice of language we went with based on what was offered.
We also, this one also went back to our attorneys to review as well, per the recommendation of NISBA. So after we consulted with the nurses, we then had it sent to the Honeywells who did another review of it and made a few edits to it. So this one was pretty thoroughly vetted.
So we have those drugs on hand. If you need them, are they hard to get?
Narcan?
That's not the drugs, it's the
Or the whatever, the counter.
opioid
I'm not-
antagonists.
The counter of the drug is.
Yes.
We have that.
Yeah, the antagonists. I know, I appreciate that expression. Yeah, this one was, I should say, pretty seriously researched. Okay, hearing no further discussion, what is on the floor is to adopt 8121.1 as written. All those in favor of doing so, that's unanimous, thank you guys. first reading for policy 8130.1, extreme risk protection orders, red flag law. This was also pretty well vetted, and consulted with the administration, I would say.
And NISBA.
And NISBA.
And that we also like, again, in consideration of people's feedback, we're like, this is a notice, do we need this? Let's consider, we want the less is more comments that we've received, but it was another point of discussion of, these are laws that we have to adhere to beyond the district, and it would just be helpful that we have something on the books so that people are aware of what.
Because we didn't have something in our protocol already. Because that is one where we double check, like Lauren said. And we did not have a protocol for this procedure, which is why we considered keeping it on the books and adopting it. Or revising it.
So essentially, it's something our district would have to do anyway because of, having to adhere to state.
I'd like to make a motion to waive second reading of policy 8130.1 and adopt as written.
Second.
Any further discussion on 8130.1? Okay, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor of adopting as written? Anybody against? Any abstentions? Michelle, were you abstaining? Yeah. Okay. Michelle abstains, that carries. Okay, we have a second public comment period, but we have the blue sheet, so we'll just skip over board member reports for our last. You guys are champs, man. This is no joke. We'll go to Abby and Teddy for your side.
I'm gonna try to keep it short, but again, I just want to say thank you for everything. You guys have let us piggyback along this year, and it's been a great learning experience. I think I learned a lot about policy, like procedures that I wouldn't have known. I guess on the school, October water report, and it's the end of the year, there's a lot of fun stuff going on, especially for seniors, like a lot of celebrations and stuff that we've been enjoying. But yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Also what Abby said, thank you for letting us sit along in these board meetings. I really enjoyed getting to know how everything was kind of behind the scenes, and kind of honored at the same time to be able to give a voice to the students, because I know a lot of this stuff is for them, so they should have a voice in that. And the fact that it's me and Abby, I'm really grateful for that. And yeah, thank you.
For my board report, just in keeping up all the discussion we've had about policy, I just wanted to explicitly thank Kim for all the work she does in the background, that every time we have a question about this, what do the lawyers say, what do these stakeholders say, that Kim does so much of that connection, collaboration, and follow-up and tracking who said what and which one they prefer. So thank you for all of the work that you do for the committee, because in recounting that, I'm just thinking about how many times we pull in those stakeholders and have instrumental in this and that process. So that's all I got for today.
I wanted to thank you both again, so good luck next year.
Thank you.
I struggled to figure out what to say and never came up with anything, except it's always been my dream to use the following line during a board meeting, not this board, but with my board of directors in corporate world. Nobody puts baby in the corner. With that, thank you.
Good use of your time. Well done.
Fantastic. I want to give a shout out and a thanks to all of the parents and teachers who have stepped up and volunteered for a lot of the end of the year stuff. There's the 8th grade farewell dance that I understand extremely well. There's a lot of stuff that goes on for our seniors as they wrap up their high school career that doesn't happen without the parent volunteers especially. So special thanks to all the people that have stepped up and donated their time and things to that effect. I want to shout out to all of our teachers. I had the opportunity to volunteer in one of the high school classrooms talking about a topic that's in my wheelhouse, and it's a challenge. I give so much respect to the teachers that get up and do that every day, because it was not an easy thing to do, although I very much enjoyed working with the kids for that short period of time, so thank you for that. Adam, you have my forever admiration, and I appreciate you so much. So thank you for everything that you've done in your service, and best of luck for you. And thank you again to the community for your trust. And I hope that we can live up to it. Thank you.
Thanks. We actually had a safety committee meeting after the last board meeting. And in that safety committee, we reviewed the safety, what the safety team accomplished this year, and it was a lot. I'll just give you a couple quick highlights. The Help Me app was implemented, MOUs with our community partners for emergency spaces were secured, bus information protocols were updated, an after-school safety plan was implemented, as well as many other items were completed, and that district team did a lot of great work, so I just want to thank them for all the people who actually implement all the stuff that goes into what we review at the safety committee meetings. As I've said to probably most everybody, this is my favorite meeting of the year, where we honor the retirees, those people who have dedicated themselves to the district and are now moving forward with the rest of their lives, and I appreciate that. And it's also a time to honor our tenure recipients, the talented people that are just starting out with Averill Park to make a difference for our district, our students, and our community. And it really is truly a time to celebrate. But also in that mix is to honor those who have dedicated their service as board members. And I want to thank you, Teddy and Abby, for your commitment to this board and your input to this board. It's been really valuable and really appreciated, and good luck to what's next for both of you. And a big, huge thank you to Adam. I'm gonna miss a lot of things about you being a board colleague, and there's a lot of examples as to why. But I will say the one thing I'm gonna miss the most is your ability to take huge amounts of data, not just our district data, other districts' data, boil it down, simple and clear terms, how that data impacts our district, especially compared to local districts where we feel like we're getting shafted. Because your data shows we are. So I so appreciate that. I so appreciate your straightforwardness when it comes to looking at the data. And this work, your work in that area has been so valuable to me, valuable to the community, and you clearly care about the district and this community. And I can talk because it's late, but very much appreciated, so thank you.
I'm just gonna keep it short. Thank you guys. We'll miss you. Adam, same deal. We'll miss you, and I know that and I just want to say, like, I recognize the time, so this is gonna be like it, but I just want to point out that, like, we covered like a lot of ground today, and I just want to thank everybody for, like, this is how I like to geek out on process and like procedure, and but having like a meeting where people can exchange ideas, whether they are in complete alignment or not, is really crucial to our sort of engaging in the civic society. And hopefully, we are serving as examples for these guys, and not to puff ourselves up, but that is the goal, is for us to, like, we're not ever going to agree with anybody 100%, and we're not ever going to have like all the information, but have people who have kind of rigorous data gathering, doing their job to the best they can, and engaging in respectful ways that push the district forward. I just really appreciate you guys for A, doing that, and B, doing that attentively. So I have nothing left. We don't get to adjourn the meeting quite yet. We need to adjourn to executive session for personnel matters. So, Meg,
Motion to adjourn to executive session.
thank you. Adam seconds. We are in executive session. And we don't have a need to come back, so Abby and Teddy, get home and get to bed. See you guys at graduation.
Yeah.
It's all taller than me again.